Today, we're diving deep into an industry that, well, it touches your life every single day, often without you even realizing it.
Absolutely.
We're talking energy trading and risk management, or ETRM, and its close cousin, commodity trading and risk management, CTRM. We've basically taken a foundational training program and pulled out the absolute essential insights, those aha moments, to give you a clear picture of this dynamic, pretty high-stakes universe.
That's right. I mean, imagine the global flow of energy and raw materials.
Yeah.
The oil, the gas, the food we eat, the metals, building our infrastructure.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. These specialized systems are kind of like the sophisticated brain behind it all.
The nervous system, almost.
Exactly, the central nervous system. They allow businesses to navigate these incredibly volatile markets, manage huge financial and logistical risks, and, well, essentially keep the lights on and the wheels turning globally. They're really fundamental.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're talking about an industry where, like, a single geopolitical event or even just a sudden weather shift can send prices absolutely spiraling.
Oh, instantly.
So what are these ETRM and CTRM systems? These vital kind of unseen forces?
Well, at their core, they're not just pieces of software. They're really comprehensive ecosystems designed to manage every single step of a trading activity.
Every step.
Every step. From the initial moment a deal is struck through all the complex risk analysis, the really intricate logistics, right down to the final settlement and accounting. It's genuinely a seamless front-to-back integration.
So it gives you that complete holistic view.
Precisely. And this comprehensive scope, that's exactly what makes them indispensable. You really have to think about the inherent challenges of commodity markets.
Okay, like what?
First off, the sheer volatility. And we're not talking small fluctuations here.
Right.
Prices for crude oil, natural gas, power, metals, agricultural products. I mean, they can swing wildly, sometimes within hours.
What drives that?
All sorts of things. Immediate supply and demand imbalances, obviously. Major geopolitical events like conflicts or sanctions. Unpredictable weather patterns are huge, especially for gas and power. And, broader economic shifts. ETRM, CTRM systems, they don't just track prices, they integrate real-time market data to measure risk exposure minute by minute. That gives traders the insight to react.
Okay, so volatility is number one. What else?
Then there's the physical logistics. This is a big one. Unlike purely financial trades, commodities often need to physically move.
Right, you have to actually ship the oil or pipe the gas.
Exactly. Imagine coordinating pipelines, massive ships, trucks, rail networks, and then storing these vast quantities in tanks or caverns or warehouses. These systems have sophisticated modules just for managing these intricate physical movements, optimizing routes, tracking inventory, and crucially, tallying up all the associated costs. It's like orchestrating a global symphony of physical assets.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It is. And another critical layer is the diverse instruments involved.
Instruments, you mean like stocks and bonds?
Sort of. It's specific to commodities. Trading isn't just, buying and selling a barrel of oil right now. We're dealing with a whole array of financial instruments.
Okay.
Everything from simple spot trades, buy it now, to complex options, swaps, and highly structured bespoke deals. The system has to accurately model, value, and track every single one, no matter how complex its structure.
Gotcha. So volatility, logistics, complex instruments.
Whoa.
Anything else?
Oh, yes. Regulatory compliance. This is huge now.
Right. Post-2008 financial crisis.
Exactly. Regulations like Dodd-Frank in the U.S., EMIR and REMIT in Europe, MiFID, CEST, plus various regional energy market rules, they became incredibly stringent. Before these integrated systems, many firms relied on just tons of disparate spreadsheets. It was a nightmare for regulatory scrutiny.
I can imagine.
These systems, they didn't just automate reporting, they actually forced an internal discipline and transparency that, frankly, was kind of optional before. It fundamentally changed how risk was seen and managed systemically. It made it nearly impossible to hide exposures.
So high stakes if you get it wrong.
Very high stakes. Non-compliance today isn't just a slap on the wrist. It means significant fines, huge reputational damage. These systems help automate those compliance processes.
Okay, makes sense. One more.
Yeah, finally, there's operational efficiency and just managing risk exposure generally.
How so?
Well, manual processes in these high-volume, fast-paced markets, they're just a recipe for costly errors and massive slowdown.
Right. Fat finger mistakes and things.
Exactly. These systems automate workflows, drastically improving what's called straight-through processing, or STP. Yeah, think of it like an assembly line for financial transactions. A trade flows seamlessly from the start, from inception, right to settlement, without, ideally, any manual intervention or rekeying data.
Ah, okay. That must be a game changer for speed and accuracy.
Absolutely. And it provides this comprehensive framework to identify, measure, monitor, and mitigate all the different types of risks. Market risk from price swings, credit risk if your counterparty defaults, operational risk from errors or system failures, and that regulatory risk we talked about.
So, bringing it all together, what does this actually mean for, the listener, for us?
Essentially, these ETRM, CTRM systems are the invisible framework that lets global businesses navigate all these incredible challenges we just discussed.
Right.
They help optimize profitability by finding opportunities, they mitigate risks that could genuinely sink a company, and they ensure compliance in this really watchful regulatory landscape. They are, in a very real sense, the lifeblood of modern trading operations.
Well, lifeblood. Okay. Now, you mentioned the different commodities earlier. This is where I think it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the systems, but what are they actually trading?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the specific energy markets themselves and what makes each one tick. Because they're all interconnected, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also have their own unique personalities and drivers.
Absolutely. They definitely do. Think about it.
Yeah.
You've got crude oil and refined products. This is the global titan, really.
Right.
Major benchmarks you probably hear about, like West Texas Intermediate WTI and Brent crude.
Yeah, hear those all the time.
What drives it? Geopolitics is massive conflicts, sanctions, OPEC plus decisions on production quotas. These can swing prices dramatically.
Right.
Global economic growth directly impacts demand, obviously.
Mm.
And even things like refinery outages or just planned maintenance can cause ripple effects on the supply of gasoline or jet fuel.
Makes sense. What about gas?
Then there's natural gas. Now, these markets tend to be much more regional historically. You have key hubs like Henry Hub in North America, TTF in Europe, JKM in Asia.
TT what?
TTF Title Transfer Facility. It's the main European benchmark. While you have these vast pipeline networks acting as the main arteries, liquefied natural gas, or LNG, shipping is increasingly globalizing the market. You can actually ship gas across oceans now.
Right, those big tankers.
Exactly. Its dynamics are heavily influenced by something surprisingly simple. The weather. Yeah, heating demand in winter, cooling demand in summer. That plus production levels and the actual physical capacity of pipelines or those LNG terminals.
Fascinating. Okay, oil, gas. What about power?
Power or electricity, markets are maybe the most fascinatingly complex.
Why is that?
Because electricity is incredibly challenging to store in large quantities. You basically have to use it the instant it's generated.
Oh, okay.
This means supply and demand have to be balanced in real time, like minute by minute.
Wow.
So the markets are highly regionalized because you can only transmit power so far efficiently.
Yeah.
And their dynamics are dominated by hyperlocal factors, weather patterns again, unexpected power plant outages. The fluctuating prices of fuels used to generate power, like gas or coal, and increasingly the intermittency of renewable energy sources like solar and wind.
Intermittency, meaning?
Meaning when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow, something else has to fill that gap immediately to keep the grid stable.
Right, okay. That sounds like a huge challenge.
It is. Then you still have coal. It still plays a significant role, especially with global seaborne trade.
Still?
Yeah, but its market is increasingly shaped by environmental regulations and policies aimed at cutting carbon emissions. Its price is also often influenced by natural gas, as gas can sometimes be used as a substitute fuel for power generation.
Interesting interplay there.
Definitely. And finally, we're seeing the rapidly growing importance of renewable energy credits, RECs, and carbon credits.
Ah, the green stuff.
Sort of, yeah. These aren't physical commodities you can touch, but they're tradable certificates. A REC represents the kind of environmental goodness of renewable energy generation, say, from a wind farm. A carbon credit represents a verified reduction in emissions. They're crucial for companies and, entire nations to meet regulatory compliance targets or achieve their broader sustainability goals. It's creating a whole new market for environmental attributes.
It's incredible just hearing that list, how interconnected, but also how uniquely volatile these markets are. Each one with its own set of influences that traders and risk managers have to constantly monitor. You can really see why you'd need a sophisticated system just to keep track of it all.
Exactly. It's a kaleidoscope of information, constantly shifting.
So to navigate all this complexity, all this volatility, traders don't just, guess right. They use a very specific, sophisticated toolkit.
That's right.
Trading instruments, you call them, ranging from, straightforward to incredibly nuanced.
That's a good way to put it. The toolkit really starts with physical trades. These involve the actual physical delivery of a commodity.
Okay, the real stuff.
Yeah. A spot trade, for example, is simple. It's for immediate delivery and payment. It reflects market price right now.
Got it.
Then you have forwards. These are more customized agreements to buy or sell a specific quantity at a future date at a price you agree on today.
How are they different from, say, futures?
Good question. Forwards are typically over-the-counter or OTC, meaning they're negotiated directly between two parties, so they're less standardized but more flexible than futures, which trade on exchanges.
Okay, OTC.
And there are also physical options. These give the holder the right, but not the obligation.
Right, the option.
Exactly. The option to buy or sell a physical commodity at a specified price, the strike price on or before a certain date. If you exercise that option, it results in actual physical delivery.
Okay, so that covers the physical side. What about the financial side?
Right, then you move into financial derivatives. These are contracts whose value is derived from an underlying asset like oil or gas, but usually without the actual physical delivery happening.
So paper trading, almost.
Kind of, but much more complex and functional. Futures are a big one here. These are standardized contracts traded on organized exchanges like NYMEX or IC.
Right.
They obligate both the buyer to purchase and the seller to sell the asset at a predetermined price on a future date. They're highly liquid, very transparent, which is why they're often used for price discovery and hedging risk.
Hedging, locking in a price.
Essentially, yes. Which brings us to swaps. These are also typically OTC, over-the-counter agreements, where parties agree to exchange cash flows based on commodity prices.
Exchange cash flows, how does that work?
Well, imagine a company needs to buy jet fuel consistently but hates the price volatility. They could enter a swap where they agree to pay a fixed price for a certain period, and the counterparty pays them the floating market price. It smooths out their costs. Swaps are incredibly popular for hedging price risk because you can lock in a price profile without dealing with the physical delivery yourself.
Clever. Okay. What else is in the financial toolkit?
And then there are options, the financial kind. Like physical options, they give the holder the right, but not the obligation, to buy, that's a call option, or sell a put option, an underlying asset at a specified strike price on or before a certain expiration date.
Calls and puts, right?
Yeah. Beyond the basic vanilla options, you get into exotic options.
Exotic. Sounds interesting.
They are. They have more complex features. Think of something like a barrier option. It might only come into existence or maybe get extinguished if the underlying asset's price hits a certain barrier level during its life.
What?
These are like highly specialized tools for very niche risk management situations, far beyond just a simple bet on whether the price goes up or down.
So physical trades, futures, swaps, options. Is that it?
Almost. Beyond these core instruments, you also have structured deals. These are complex, often bespoke transactions that combine various financial and physical instruments together. They're usually tailored to a very specific client need or a unique market opportunity that someone spots.
Okay, custom jobs.
Pretty much. And finally, something called basis trades. These are quite clever trading strategies that exploit the price difference, the basis, between two related things.
Like what?
Could be two related commodities, like different grades of crude oil, or the same commodity but in two different locations, or even the difference between a physical commodity price and its corresponding futures contract price.
Ah, like the WTI versus Brent spread you hear about.
Exactly like that. Trading the difference between WTI and Brent prices is a classic basis trade. It might sound subtle, focusing on the difference rather than the outright price, but a small movement in that basis can lead to massive profits or losses, especially with leverage.
It really is like having this incredibly specialized toolkit, isn't it?
It is.
Each instrument serving a very specific purpose, either managing risk or trying to optimize an opportunity in the market.
Precisely.
But okay, how does an actual trade, using maybe one or more of these instruments, with all these complexities, how does it actually move through one of these ETRM systems? This brings us, I think, to the trade life cycle. You mentioned that earlier. It's the sequence of events a trade goes through, right? From initiation all the way to final settlement and accounting.
Exactly. And ETRM systems are specifically designed to manage this entire, often very seamless process. There are basically 5 critical stages.
5 stages. Okay, what's first?
The first is entry, or deal capture. This is just the initial recording of a trade in the system. All the fundamental details get captured here.
Like what?
Instrument type, quantity, price, trade date, who the counterparties are, delivery locations if it's physical, payment terms, all the basics. And crucially, this stage often includes pre-trade checks. For example, imagine a trader wants to sell a large cargo of LNG to a new customer before that trade is even finalized.
Yeah.
The system automatically cross-references that customer's credit rating against preset limits. If they're over their limit or maybe not approved for that volume,
So it flags it.
flags it immediately, potentially preventing a multi-million-dollar default before the trade even gets locked in.
Wow, okay, so deal capture first. What's next?
Next is amend, or trade amendments. It's actually incredibly common for changes to be made to a trade after it's been initially captured.
Really? Why?
Oh, market conditions shift, logistics change, maybe a vessel is delayed or counterparty agreements evolve. Could be minor tweaks to quantity or delivery dates, pricing adjustments based on some index, or even full cancellations sometimes.
So the system needs to handle changes easily.
Exactly. And critically, it needs robust audit trails and approval workflows. Every single change needs to be authorized, tracked, and fully reconstructable if, say, regulators come asking questions later.
Right, the audit trail. Makes sense. Stage 3.
Then we have confirm, or confirmation. This is the formal process where you agree on the exact terms of the trade with your counterparty.
Making sure you're both on the same page.
Precisely. It can be done electronically, often through dedicated platforms like eConfirm or sometimes still manually. The whole purpose here is vital. Mitigate operational risk. Prevent any discrepancies that could lead to really costly disputes down the line.
Like signing off on the blueprint before building the house.
That's a perfect analogy. Then the 4th stage, schedule, or scheduling and logistics, is absolutely critical for physical trades.
The moving parts again.
Yeah, this is where the actual movement and storage of the commodity get planned and managed. Think of things called nominations.
Nominations.
It's like calling the pipeline operator or the trucking company and saying, hey, we've got 10,000 barrels of crude ready for pickup on Tuesday from this specific storage tank going to that refinery.
Okay.
And then allocations would be saying, okay, of that 10,000 barrels, 5,000 are for client A, and the other 5,000 are for client B.
Got it.
In systems like ENDUR, you'd find really specialized modules for this, things like G motion for natural gas, P motion for power, corrosion for crude or liquids. These aren't just tracking movements. They automate incredibly complex scheduling, like pipeline capacity nominations, and even deal with things like interruptible transportation contracts, which are pretty unique to gas logistics.
Wow, sounds very specialized. Okay, final stage.
And finally, stage 5. We reach settle, or settlement and invoicing. This is the financial conclusion of the trade.
Payday, or payment day.
Exactly. Where payments are calculated and exchanged, it involves calculating the final amounts due, generating invoices, processing the payments. Concepts like netting often happen here.
Netting.
Yeah, if you and your counterparty owe each other money on multiple deals, you can net them out, offset the mutual obligations to reduce the actual number of cash payments flying back and forth.
Makes sense.
And applying all the applicable taxes, fees, transportation costs, that's all handled here too. This stage also typically integrates really tightly with external accounting systems like SAP or Oracle Financials to make sure the company's main financial records are accurate and up to date.
So having this whole trade lifecycle managed within one single ETRM CTRM platform, I mean, the importance of that really can't be overstated, can it?
No, it really can't.
It sounds like it drastically improves accuracy, reducing manual errors, automating data flow.
Absolutely.
Boosts efficiency, speeding up processes massively from trade entry right through to settlement.
Yeah.
Faster financial closes, better operational throughput.
Definitely.
For risk management, it gives you that real-time, accurate visibility into your positions, your exposures, your P&L at every single stage.
Crucial.
Ensures compliance because everything's recorded, auditable, adheres to all those complex regulations. And finally, it just enables comprehensive, consistent reporting across the whole organization. It's like a single source of truth for the entire trading business.
That's exactly what it aims to be, a single, reliable source of truth.
Okay, theory's great, but let's try and bring this to life a bit more. Imagine, you, the listener, are actually sitting at a trading desk, working with one of these systems, maybe Endur, which you mentioned.
All right.
What would this actually look like when a trade is processed? Can we do a sort of conceptual walkthrough?
Sure, we can walk through how it might feel. So you'd probably start by accessing a trading blotter.
A blotter, like an old ink blotter.
Huh? Maybe historically, but now it's essentially your main screen, your mission control. It displays a list, usually customizable, of your trades, your positions, maybe market data. It often has powerful filtering capabilities.
You can find what you need quickly.
Exactly. Filter by commodity, by counterparty, by date range, whatever you need. Maybe you just want to see all your crude oil trades for next month or just your natural gas positions.
Okay, got my blotter up. What next?
Then you might enter a mock trade. Let's keep it simple. Say a natural gas forward contract. You'd select the instrument type, pick the counterparty from a list, enter the quantity, the agreed price, the delivery dates, and location. The system would likely guide you through each field, maybe with drop-down menus or validation checks.
Input in the details.
Right. Once you've entered it and saved it, you'd immediately be able to view the trade details. Your new trade pops up right there in your blotter.
Instantly.
Pretty much instantly. You'd see its unique trade ID number, its current status, maybe it starts as pending confirmation, and all its key attributes dynamically updating in real time.
Cool. What about changes? You said amendments are common.
Good point. You could then simulate an amendment. Let's say the quantity needs to change slightly, or the delivery date shifts by a day due to some operational reason. You'd pull up the trade, make that small change, and you'd see how the system records this amendment. It doesn't just overwrite the old data. It typically creates a new version of the trade, or clearly logs the change while preserving the original details for that full auditability we talked about.
So it tracks the history.
Precisely. It's a traceable change, not just data being overwritten.
Okay, and how do I see the impact of my trade?
Right. To really grasp the impact, you'd then explore some basic reports. You could run a simple position report or maybe a profit and loss P&L report related to just that trade you entered, or maybe your whole natural gas book.
And what did that show?
Instantly, you'd see its immediate effect on your overall portfolio. Are you now net long or short that commodity? How has it affected your projected P&L for the month based on current market prices? The system calculates and displays that impact straight away.
Wow. So you get immediate feedback.
That's the goal. Real-time visibility into your positions and risk.
What stands out to you, having worked with this stuff, about how all these intricate pieces actually fit together to manage such a mind-bogglingly complex global industry? I'm picturing this massive living organism, and these systems are like its nervous system, just sensing and reacting to everything.
That's a great analogy. What's always fascinated me is just the sheer scale and speed at which all this happens. You're in an industry where literally millions of dollars can be made or lost in seconds.
Yeah.
Seconds. Due to price swings or logistical failures or even a data entry error.
Yeah.
In that environment, these systems aren't just, a nice-to-have advantage. They're an absolute necessity.
Survival, almost.
Survival, exactly. They provide clarity in the chaos. They transform this overwhelming flood of raw data into actionable intelligence that people can actually use to make decisions.
Okay, so to recap our deep dive today, ETRM and CTRM systems are, well, vital. They're complex, incredibly integrated tools. They're basically the unseen backbone of global energy and commodity markets. We've explored what they are, why they're utterly essential, the diverse markets they serve,
Oil, gas, power.
the specialized instruments they manage, forwards, futures, swaps, options,
The whole toolkit.
and that incredible journey a trade takes through its entire life cycle, from capture to settlement.
Exactly. And remember, knowledge is really most valuable when it's understood and can be applied. This deep dive, hopefully, has shown how these systems are truly indispensable.
Yeah.
Indispensable for optimizing profitability, for mitigating those critical risks, and for ensuring compliance in this really dynamic, always evolving, high-stakes world of energy and commodity trading.
So a provocative thought for you, the listener, to take away. The next time you fill up your car or turn on the lights or even just, check the price of gas online, consider this invisible backbone. These ETRM and CTRM systems working tirelessly behind the scenes, making it all possible. What layers of complexity do you think are still hidden beneath the surface of the world's most essential commodities?
Good question to ponder.
Join us next time for another deep dive into fascinating topics.